The billionaire's son couldn't move until the black maid revealed this shocking secret. The air was thick with tension at the lavish mansion perched atop the hill, its marble facade glowing like a beacon amid the overgrown weeds creeping along the wrought iron gates. Inside, whispers echoed down the polished halls, laced with the scent of something sweet yet foreboding. The filthy richness loomed heavy, a stark contrast to the fragile figure draped limply on the grand sofa. Ethan Watts, the heir to a billion-dollar empire, had become a ghost in his own life, unable to move, unable to speak a human shell in a world bursting with color and sound. Weeks before, the lavish parties filled with laughter and music had become silence. Friends turned to strangers, and his once bustling world faded into a cold gray. Ethan's golden hair lay unkempt, and his normally sharp blue eyes dulled to a murky hue. What had taken him? Was it the freak accident that left him paralyzed after that fateful dive into the family pool? Or was it someone he couldn't recall, lurking in the dark corners of his mind, spinning webs thick enough to trap him in a waking nightmare? The staff tiptoed the hallways, whispers of black magic and curses exchanged like gossip. And then there was Mary, the unassuming maid with watchful eyes. Unlike the others, she moved through the house like a shadow, her deep brown skin catching glimpses of sunlight as she dusted off priceless relics. This woman held a secret, knitting the threads of fate with every sweep of her mop. They said she could read minds. Some even claimed she could breathe life back into the lifeless. What Ethan couldn't move, she seemed to understand. As if guided by an unseen force, Mary paused just beside him one evening, her breath a whisper. She leaned in close, her voice barely above a murmur. "You don't know the truth." The words hung heavy in the air, crackling with an electric tension. The flickering candlelight cast eerie shadows across her face, igniting a fire of curiosity deep within him. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With his heart pounding like a restless drum, Ethan stared at her intently, desperate to understand. The lump in his throat felt raw, and he struggled against the confines of his motionless body. All at once, it was more than just curiosity. It was a desperate plea for salvation. What could she possibly know that would change everything? All the unanswered questions mingled with urgency, wrapping around him like a shroud. As the clock ticked louder and louder, Mary stepped back, the mystery swirling thicker around them. Her eyes flickered, and for the briefest moment, Ethan thought he saw something. Hope? Fear? It was gone just as quickly as it came, as whispers surged like waves through the home, the shadows dancing around him. Suddenly, he could feel the weight of every gaze upon him, the warm, concerned murmurs mixing with the tension of unspoken fears. The silence that followed felt deafening. What dark secrets lay behind her words? And would she finally reveal the truth that could set him free? More importantly, who would pay the price? He was hungry for answers, his breath shallow, as the air thickened again, heavy with something sinister yet tantalizing. Ethan felt the growing urge to fight against his paralysis, daring to hope that maybe, just maybe, his fate was intertwining with the maid's secret, leading him toward a destiny he never expected. The world around Ethan seemed to fade into nothingness. Mary's words echoed like thunder in the recesses of his mind. "You don't know the truth." The phrase had carved a jagged path of curiosity and fear deep inside him, and he felt it pulsate like an urgent heartbeat, a call to action. If reading his thoughts, Mary knelt down beside the sofa, her dark eyes searching his face. "You should know," she whispered, her breath warm and filled with conviction. "You're caught in a web of lies." The gravity of her words wrapped around him, pulling him deeper into a whirlpool of confusion and dread. Ethan struggled against his frozen prison, desperate for a response, a movement, anything. But the same paralysis that had imprisoned his body also bound his voice. He wanted to shout, to curse, to plead for answers. Yet all he could do was stare, wide-eyed and anticipating. Mary's presence felt like a flicker of hope in a storm of despair. "There are whispers about you, Ethan," she continued, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Some believe your accident wasn't an accident at all. It was planned intentional." The words hung sharp in the air, slicing through the silence like a knife. Ethan felt a chill wash over him. Was it possible? How could someone wish harm upon him, or worse? How could someone he knew be capable of such a betrayal? His heart raced against the backdrop of his immobile body, fueling his fear. He had known betrayal before in business deals and friendships turned sour, but this was different. This was a threat to the very core of his existence. "What do you mean?" He managed to think, the words boiling just beneath the surface of his mind, yearning for release. He hoped that somehow, someway, she could hear him. Mary's gaze turned intense, as if she were peering directly into his soul. "There's a woman in your life, Ethan, and she's not who you think. She knows more than you realize." Her words painted a vivid picture of deceit, suspicion flaring up like the bright flames of a fire ignited. A sharp pain stabbed at Ethan's chest at the mention of her name, Sophia. His heart felt heavier every time he thought of her, tangled in his memories of laughter and shared dreams. Is it her? The thought flooded his mind with anguish. She was the last person he would expect to be a part of this twisted narrative. Wasn't she? As if sensing his turmoil, Mary leaned closer. "You need to remember, Ethan. The truth is shrouded in darkness, and you are but a pawn in this game." Ethan's mind spun in chaos. In this lavish prison, where he once ruled as the king of parties and wealth, he felt like a mere puppet now. His eyes searched her face for understanding, for guidance, for anything that could lead him to his next step. And then it struck him. "You can help me. You know what I need to do." Mary hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her face. "I can," she admitted, her voice trembling with the weight of secrets. "But it won't come without a cost." Ethan felt the air grow cold, realization dawning. What kind of price would he have to pay to regain his life? As the shadows around them shifted, a feeling of dread coiled in the pit of his stomach. He needed her help more than ever. The promise of answers loomed in the air, tantalizing and terrifying. But those answers might lead him down a path he wasn't ready to traverse. "No one ever said the truth didn't come with chains," Mary warned, her words laced with caution. Ethan's breath hitched. What was waiting in the depths of the truth? Could he brave the storm of revelations? As panic threatened to suffocate him, he realized he had to plunge forward, armed with Mary's cryptic warnings and embracing the chaos. Before he could respond, the windows rattled with a sudden gust of wind that cut through the silence. A piece of paper flew across the room, landing near his feet. Ethan's heart raced as he locked eyes on it. A message? A clue? His pulse quickened, promising him that the maze of mystery was only just beginning. What shocking revelation awaited him in that note, and how would it change everything? Ethan's gaze was locked on the note. Its wrinkled edges fluttered lightly, teasing him with its potential revelation. He leaned closer, his heart thundering against his chest. What lay written on that crumbled piece of paper? Mary watched him intensely, her expression a mix of concern and curiosity. "Open it, Ethan," she urged, her voice strained with anticipation. The struggle was real. Even though his body remained unresponsive, his mind surged forward, urging him to break free from the confines of paralysis. With every ounce of willpower, he focused, willing his fingers to move, wanting to snatch the note and unveil its secrets. It felt like an eternity, but finally, his trembling hand twitched and began a slow curl around the note, the crinkle of paper tearing through the stillness. With a heavy breath, he unfurled it, revealing scrawled handwriting that sent shivers down his spine. "Meet me at the old warehouse on Pierce Street. Midnight. Trust no one." Each word hit him like a jagged stone, igniting a mix of dread and urgency inside him. His mind raced. Who had written this? Why the secrecy? And what awaited him in that abandoned space cloaked in shadows? Mary's eyes widened as she scanned the note. "This changes everything," she said, her voice a blend of fear and determination. "You can't go alone. We need to figure out who you can trust." But who could he trust when betrayal lingered in the air like a thick fog? Sophia was the last piece of a puzzle that now seemed warped, fragments of loyalty shattering all around him. He felt the weight of every decision pressing down like a heavy anchor. "Mary, I need answers." His silent plea hung in the air, thick like smoke. "If Sophia is involved, I need to confront her. I need to know why she could." Ethan Mary interrupted, almost pleadingly. "You have to be cautious. The truth may pull you into a darkness you're not prepared to face." He fought back the rising panic. Where was his life? How had it unraveled so quickly? But he couldn't allow himself to spiral. Not now. The urgency to meet with whoever had sent the note, to start unraveling this web, was stronger than doubt. "Are you coming with me?" he asked, meeting her gaze. Mary hesitated. "You seem to believe you can just wade through this blinding panic, but it won't be easy." She looked away, eyes clouded with pondering. "I can help you, but you have to promise to listen to me. No reckless choices." Ethan nodded, desperately trying to capture any semblance of clarity. "I promise." As the clock chimed in the distance, announcing that time was slipping away, he felt the pressure grow. Every passing second was filled with unspoken threats and uncertainty. He had to move fast. "We need to prepare," he murmured, but he felt the air shift again, becoming undeniably charged. A distant beep echoed through the silence of his surroundings, slicing through the tension. The time had come for action. Mary's expression hardened, her resolve shifting. "Let us gather what we need. I know a way to get into the warehouse unnoticed." Ethan's heart raced as he found a new surge of hope. Perhaps together, they could pierce the veil of deceit and claw their way to whatever truth lay beneath. But how deep would they have to dig? Just as they stood to leave, the window cracked open with a rush of cold wind, carrying with it an unseen whisper that sent chills up his spine. A voice echoed, and he pulled back in enthrallment. It was Sophia's voice, curling through the air and embedding itself in his heart. "You don't know what you're getting into." His stomach dropped as the wave of horror rolled over him. Could she be involved in this? What did she mean? He thought with rising panic. As they slipped out into the night, shadows loomed larger than life, whispering secrets that could consume him. Was the warehouse going to reveal the truth, or would it entrap him deeper in the snare of betrayal? The treacherous path ahead promised darkness, but Ethan couldn't turn away now. Each step only intensified his resolve. He was on the brink of a moment that would alter everything. What awaited him there? What shadows alarmed him from the depths of his past? The true danger was yet to come, and time was no longer on his side. The darkness enveloped Ethan and Mary as they navigated the narrow streets, their breaths visible in the frosty night air. Every heartbeat pulsed like a warning bell in Ethan's chest, fueling his determination to uncover the truth behind Sophia's chilling words. "Do you really think she's involved?" Mary's voice cut through the tension, barely above a whisper. "I don't know what to think," Ethan admitted, pushing away the anxiety threatening to consume him. "But I want to find out by staying in the dark." The old warehouse loomed ahead, an imposing silhouette against the starlit sky. Clusters of cracked windows peered out like hollow eyes, caught in a time long forgotten. Mary's grip on his arm tightened, pulling him back as they approached. "Wait, we need to plan this. If there's anyone inside," he shook his head fiercely. "I can't wait any longer. If there's a chance Sophia's inside, I need to confront her." Mary looked conflicted, torn between wanting to protect him and understanding his need for answers. "Okay, but we stick together. No more secrets." With a shared nod, they crept toward the entrance, the gritty ground crunching beneath their feet. Shadows danced on the walls from their flashlights, creating an eerie atmosphere that deepened the dread hanging around them. The air inside was stale, tinged with rust and mold. Ethan's heart thudded louder as they stepped carefully through the clutter of forgotten crates and shattered glass. "Look over there," Mary whispered, pointing to a flickering light in the far corner. They edged closer, the atmosphere growing heavier with each step. The glow revealed a makeshift table strewn with papers and an illuminated map pinned with red markers. Ethan's breath caught in his throat as he recognized names running along the margin, his own, Sophia's, and others he couldn't place. What is this?" he asked, panic creeping into his voice. Mary's eyes darted around, scanning for answers. "It looks like someone's been watching us, tracking us." Just then, a soft shuffle echoed through the darkness. Instantly, they froze, eyes locked on the source. A figure stepped into the light, revealing a familiar shape. Sophia, Ethan whispered, a mix of relief and suspicion coursing through his veins. She looked different, disheveled and frightened, as if she had been running. Ethan, you shouldn't be here. Why did you leave that note? Ethan demanded, his voice resolute. What is going on? Listen. Sophia's voice trembled, urgency flooding her gaze. You're in danger. You don't understand the forces at play. They're watching, and you're not safe. Mary stepped forward, her expression fierce. Stop lying, Sophia. If you have information, you need to share it now. Sophia shook her head, panic playing on her features. I can't. I just need to protect you both. The desperation in her eyes told a story of its own. Ethan felt his heart break between the fear of the unknown and the painful past that tied them together. Protect us from what? Before she could respond, a loud crash echoed from behind them. The sound reverberated off the walls, sending a rush of wind through the room, and they spun to see dark shapes flooding into the warehouse. Run! Ethan shouted instinctively, grabbing Mary and pushing her toward the back exit. Sophia hesitated, glancing back at the approaching shadows. We need to stick together. No time. Ethan's voice was a mixture of fear and urgency as adrenaline forced them into action. They sprinted, ducking under low-hanging beams and over piles of debris, breathless and terrified as they reached the exit. The shadows loomed closer, voices rising in anger behind them. But then, from the darkness, a piercing shout echoed. Ethan, you've made a terrible mistake. The voice pierced through the chaos, freezing Ethan in his tracks. He whirled around, his chest tightening, just to find a silhouette stepping into the light, a figure he never expected to see, a ghost from his past. Why are you here? He gasped, realization washing over him, chilling him to the bone. As dread settled in his stomach, a new wave of fear consumed him. Who had sent that ominous note? Would they escape? Or was this the web of betrayal tightening around them? The stakes were rising, and with every heartbeat, secrets loomed larger than life around him. What were they about to uncover? Ethan's heart raced, the words wrapping around him like a vice. The figure that emerged from the shadows was unmistakable Jack. The anger and betrayal flashed across his familiar features, sharp as a knife. You shouldn't have come here, Ethan. Jack spat, stepping forward, his voice echoing in the damp air. Ethan clenched his fists, fear mixing with a rush of adrenaline. What do you care? You left us. What happened to you? Jack's eyes flickered with something between regret and fury. You have no idea what's at stake. Sophia is playing a dangerous game, and you're right in the middle of it. Just like before. Sophia's breath hitched. This isn't the time for old grudges, Jack. We have to get out of here. Behind them, the shadows writhed, the figures growing restless with anticipation. Ethan could hear their footsteps getting closer, a rhythmic cadence that echoed the tension in his heart. Shut up, Sophia. You're not qualified to, Jack began, but Ethan stepped between them, his chest heaving. Enough. Right now we need a plan. Who are they? They're my father's men, Jack gritted out, casting a glance over his shoulder. He has been watching you, Ethan, and now he knows you're involved. He'll stop at nothing to protect his secrets. Your father? The billionaire? Why? The weight of Jack's words sank in, hammering at Ethan's already fragile psyche. Because your involvement with Sophia threatens everything. You have to trust me, Ethan. We aren't safe here. Trust you? A bitter laugh escaped Ethan's lips, fueled by 1,000 memories of betrayal. You left us once. Why should I believe you now? But even as he spoke, the danger loomed closer, breathing down their necks like a predator stalking its prey. A burst of movement caught Ethan's eye, a dark figure peering through the shattered window, scanning the room. Then it was gone, leaving a chill that crept deeper than the cold air. Ethan, listen, Jack said, urgency slicing through his tone. We can't figure this out here. Not now. We need to act now. Where? Where would we go? Mary questioned, her voice trembling as she scanned their surroundings. There's a way out in the back, Jack pointed, his voice low as he shifted toward the shadowy corridor behind them. But we need to be quick. Ethan felt torn, each second stretching like an eternity. Trusting Jack meant risking everything again. But turning back might mean certain doom. Okay, he breathed, catching Mary's worried gaze. A nod. They didn't have time for doubts. "Follow me," Jack urged, and without another word, they plunged into the dark corridor. Ethan's heart thundered in his chest, fear gripping him like a vice. They crept through the narrow passage, the concrete walls slick and cold against his palm. With each step, the shadows felt closer, whispering threats and promises of betrayal. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed behind them, glass shattering into a million pieces as a dark figure surged into the warehouse. Panic surged, adrenaline kicked as Ethan pushed Mary ahead, his heart pounding louder than the chaos behind. "Keep moving," he shouted, his breath ragged. They stumbled into an open space, and his eyes widened. The back exit loomed before them, but it was shrouded in darkness, ominous and foreboding, like a portal to something unknown. "Ethan," Jack's voice broke the intensity, pulling him back to reality. "I know it's hard, but you have to trust me." Before he could respond, another voice cut through the air, sharp, authoritative. "Stop right there. You think you can escape?" They froze, breath held tight in their chests, adrenaline surging. With destiny looming before them and trust hanging by a thread, Ethan glanced at Mary, her eyes filled with determination and fear. What is happening next? Will we even survive this? The unanswered questions filled the air, thickening their chances of escape. But in that unforgiving moment, the answer was as elusive as the shadows themselves. Would they break free, or would the truth bury them in darkness? Ethan couldn't believe what he heard. That voice, they knew he was there. With panic surging through him, he glanced at Jack and Sophia. They were frozen, like statues caught in a moment of impending doom. "Move," Jack shouted, breaking the trance. He lunged toward the exit, fear propelling him like a bullet. Ethan wasn't far behind, but his mind raced with the implications of Jack's betrayal and the danger thickening like fog around them. Mary stumbled, her foot catching on a piece of debris. "Ethan, help!" Without thinking, he grabbed her arm, pulling her to her feet just as a figure emerged from the shadows. A man, tall and imposing, stepped into the dim light. The horned silhouette of a weapon glinted in his hand, and Ethan's stomach dropped. Panic ignited his senses. Without a second thought, he dashed toward the exit, dragging Mary behind him. "Go, go, go," he yelled, desperation rising in his voice, heart pounding like a war drum. They barreled through the exit, bursting out into the night. Cold air hit Ethan like a slap, and he gasped, searching for any sign of where to run. "Over there." Jack pointed toward a thicket of trees about 50 yards away. The moon broke through the clouds, casting eerie shadows. This was their only chance. "Where do you park?" Ethan shouted, glancing back at the warehouse. Darkness swallowed any view of the entrance, but he could hear the rumbles of voices getting closer. "Just over the hill." "Move," Jack urged, his breath labored. With no time to waste, they sprinted toward the trees. Ethan's mind raced. Jack's father was ruthless, a billionaire who wouldn't hesitate to put a hit on his own son. And now, thanks to Sophia and Ethan, he knew they were a threat to his carefully guarded empire. They dove behind the thick trunk of an oak tree, breathless and terrified. Their shadows danced in the moonlight, pregnant with the promise of danger. "Where's the car?" Sophia whispered, her eyes gleaming with fear and determination. "Just a little further," Jack replied, his voice shaking. "We just need a moment." To a gunshot cracked through the night, echoing like shattering glass. They jolted, adrenaline flooding their veins as Ethan felt the heat of fear rising in his chest. "We can't stay here." They bolted through the trees, hearts pounding as the shadows pulsed with unseen threats. The moon became their guide, illuminating their desperate flight. The car. Where was the car? A few more steps, and they reached a clearing. Ethan spotted a dark sedan parked beneath the twisted branches. Relief surged through him like a wave, but it was quickly snuffed out when a second shot rang out, kicking up dirt and splintered bark around them. "Get in," Jack shouted, fumbling with the door as his fingers slipped. The moment stretched painfully. It felt like they were on the brink of being snatched back into the void, but then the door swung open. Ethan shoved Mary inside, darting around the vehicle to get in behind the wheel. "Drive," Sophia urged, already scanning the darkness. "We need to move before they find us." Ethan slammed the door, heart racing. But before he turned the key, a scream shattered the air. "Jack!" Jack was still outside, grappling with a figure emerging from the shadows. Ethan's stomach twisted, torn between the impulse to go after him and the instinct to flee go. Now, Jack's voice echoed, laced with desperation. Ethan's pulse thundered in his ears. Did he save Jack or leave him behind? The gunfire echoed in the distance as panic fused with determination. His heart screamed to help, but survival pushed him to act. Hold on. He turned the key, the engine roared to life. But just as he slammed his foot on the gas, there was a deafening crack, then darkness. What is happening? Mary cried, eyes wide as they plunged into chaos. The world shifted beneath them like a storm. And as the vehicle lurched forward, Ethan had no idea what lay ahead. Would they reach safety, or was this the end? As fear twisted in his gut, a reality emerged, chilling him to the bone. What if they'd escaped one danger only to stumble into another? Before he could process it, they vanished into the black night, leaving unanswered questions and darkness behind. What secret now awaited them as they sped away from the truth? The world around them swirled in darkness and noise, a cacophony of uncertainty filled with an eerie stillness following the gunshot. Ethan gripped the wheel, knuckles white, and pressed down hard on the accelerator. The sedan jolted forward, tires screeching against the gravel as Mary yelped, clutching the door handle for dear life. Go faster, Sophia urged, her voice cutting through the alarm bells ringing in Ethan's head. The headlights sliced through the murky night, illuminating the twisted branches of trees that loomed like specters on either side. Where's Jack? Mary's voice trembled, fear rippling through the tiny space of the car. Ethan swallowed hard. I couldn't save him, the words caught in his throat, heavy with guilt. They were tearing down the road, but the image of Jack struggling against that dark figure haunted him. How could he just drive away? The trees began to thin, and the night opened up to a deserted highway. Sophia swiveled in her seat, eyes darting back and forth. We need to keep going. If they find us, we're dead. Are you seriously saying we leave him? Ethan shot back, a mix of fury and disbelief twisting in his gut. He knew the risks. Sophia snapped, her voice sharp. We have to think about our lives. Mary winced but remained silent, tears glistening in her eyes. Ethan's heart raced. The turmoil within him was palpable, a war waged between loyalty and survival. But then, in the midst of the chaos, another thought emerged, chilling him deeper than anything else. What if Jack knew something? What if he had a plan? Suddenly, the taillights of another vehicle flared up in the distance, a beam of hope illuminating the darkened road ahead. There, Ethan pointed, adrenaline igniting courage in his chest as he veered toward the car, praying it was a way to freedom. As they closed the distance, panic clawed at the edges of his mind. Was it friend or foe? He had to trust something, anything. It was just a few hundred yards away before he felt the sudden, jarring force of impact. The car in front of them swerved sharply, slamming into the ditch. Ethan jerked the wheel, but it was too late. Their sedan spun out, the world flipping over as the shriek of metal on metal filled the air. Ethan gasped, the crash echoing in his ears like thunder as the world settled back into a haunting stillness. Disoriented, he pushed against the door, his heart pounding in his chest. Everyone okay? Sophia moaned, rubbing her head. I think so, but we need to move. Mary groaned softly beside him, her breath shaky but intact. Through the shattered window of the driver's side, Ethan caught sight of the other car, a dark SUV, its lights now blinking ominously in the night. From it emerged a menacing figure, advancing toward them with purpose. Get out. Sophia hesitated before bolting into the night, dragging Mary behind her as they ducked away from the vehicle, desperate to escape. Ethan stumbled out after them, his heart hammering as he wondered who the newcomer was and what intentions lurked behind those flashing headlights. But even as they ran, the unnerving feeling gnawed at him. They had escaped the warehouse, yes, but they were still at the mercy of forces far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Over here, Jack's voice echoed through the dark, carrying a hint of urgency. Rick stepped closer, but before Ethan could register anything, the gunfire erupted again, a violent punctuation to the unfolding chaos. The world erupted around them, echoing with fractures of freedom and shackles of fear. Jack was alive. Relief splintered through Ethan, but anxiety clawed back as he charged toward the sound, propelled by the urgency of a new reality. But lurking beneath the surface was a deeper truth, the fatal secret that had driven them all to this point. What hidden connections wound through Jack's family, and how far would they go to keep their empire intact? The night pressed in, heavy with unspoken danger. And as they raced toward the sound of Jack's voice, a gut-wrenching realization struck Ethan. There was no guarantee they'd all make it out alive, or the promised safety they sought was merely an illusion waiting to shatter. What if they had already walked straight into another trap? Ethan sprinted toward the sound, limbs heavy with dread. Jack's voice was like a beacon, but the chaos around them made it hard to tell where safety lay. The SUV's headlights danced frantically, casting shadows that twisted and turned like demons in the night. "Jack!" Ethan shouted, trying to cut through the storm of noise. Each step felt like a weight pulling him back, the echoes of gunfire gnawing at his mind. The specter of betrayal lurking just beyond the murk. Sophia tugged at him, urgency spilling from her every pore. "We can't stay here. We need to go." "No," he barked back, his heart shattering the fragile fibers of determination. "Jack needs us." Sophia's eyes glimmered with fear. "You want to get killed?" We could already be in their sights. But before Ethan could respond, there was a flicker, a shadow moving fast, darting toward them. "Ethan, over here." Jack's voice was now closer, sharper, spilling urgency into the dark. Then it all happened too quickly. The figure from the SUV fired again, and this time the bullet screamed past them, slicing through the air with a warning. Mary screamed, the sound piercing through the cacophony, and Ethan felt his blood run cold. "Move." He reached for Sophia, grabbing her arm, and they stumbled toward the outline of Jack, who was positioned behind a fallen tree, gun raised. "Get down." They ducked, barely avoiding the second volley of shots that chipped bark from the tree's trunk. Heart racing, Ethan dared to peek. Jack's face was lined with determination, but there was something sharper underneath, a knowing too deep for comfort. "What did you find out?" Ethan yelled, trying to drown out the pounding in his chest. Jack's eyes were wild, the shadows stretching over him, making him look even more desperate. "They're after something that ties back to my family, to the deals Dad made before." A deafening crash interrupted him. The SUV had rolled forward, engines roaring to life, as it swerved in their direction. The ground shook, and the lights pierced a broader area, revealing the menacing silhouettes of the assailants. "They'll all come after us. We either fight or run," Jack shouted. Ethan's mind raced. He could feel the weight of choices pressing down on him. Did they have anything left to fight with? Would it be foolish to just run? His guilt over leaving Jack turned into anger directed at the very family that might have sealed their fate. "Let us head for the woods," Sophia yelled, voice raw with fear. "They can't follow us in there." Jack hesitated, still aiming the weapon at the oncoming threat, but he nodded. "Okay, follow my lead." Adrenaline surged as they sprinted for the treeline. A barrage of bullets fired behind them, drawing closer. Ethan's legs burned, but there was no time to falter. Each crunch of twigs underfoot sent shards of panic through him. Would running like this even save them? Suddenly, Jack halted, turning to face them. "Wait, I have to tell you something I found out about my father." "What?" Sophia gasped, barely catching her breath. "Not now." But Jack's voice dropped, heavy with gravity. "About the deals, and your father too." At that moment, the air around them thickened. The words between Jack and Sophia were hanging, empty yet charged. An unspoken alliance was about to crack wide open. Ethan felt the pounding in his head intensify. Was there tangled past the true monster of the night? Just then, the headlights of the SUV cast a long beam across the treetops. "Move," Ethan shouted as they bolted deeper into the embrace of the forest, the darkness swallowing them whole. But even as the trees closed in around them, that ominous thought remained. What other ghosts lingered in the shadows, and could they really outpace the ties that bound them all? And as they plunged into the thick foliage, Ethan's heart raced with a fresh dread. What if Jack's family's secret entailed not just danger, but betrayal waiting to unfold? Branches scraped against them like skeletal fingers as they plunged into the woods, the night air thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. Panic surged through Ethan, adrenaline lighting a fire in his veins. The sounds of pursuit were close, echoing from the clearing where light met shadow, where safety was just an illusion. "Stay low," Jack hissed, leading the way as they ducked between the trunks of trees. Twigs snapped underfoot, and the fear of leaving a trace sent chills down Ethan's spine. He kept glancing over his shoulder, half expecting a flash of headlights to pierce the darkness behind them. "Jack," Sophia whispered, scrambling to keep pace. "What did you mean about your father? What deals?" "Not now." Jack spat back, urgency etching his features. But the expression on his face held a tangled web of pain and obligation. Ethan's gut twisted. They were running from danger, but secrets were weaving through the air thicker than the fog rolling in around their legs. They paused behind a massive boulder, breathing heavy, hearts pounding like war drums. The thundering noise of the SUV's engine pulsed through the trees, shaking the ground, and no matter how still they remained, Ethan feared they'd been found. "Listen," Jack said, lowering his voice to a near whisper. "My father was involved in things I didn't understand. Business deals that put us all at risk." And now a sudden realization flickered in Ethan's mind. "Are you saying Sophia's father?" The tension swelled, grinding against silence until it broke. "Exactly," Jack said, glancing at Sophia. "Your family, they're tied up in this too." Sophia's face paled. "You can't be serious." "Listen, we can't let them catch us," he said, desperation in his voice. "Whatever is out there is worse than I thought. They could take us." The sound of cracking branches interrupted him, and from the shadows, men appeared, ominous silhouettes emerging like phantoms. They were closing in, whispers carrying on the wind as they fanned out, hunting, desperate for blood. "Go," Ethan shouted, shoving Sophia forward. "We have to split up. They can't catch us all." "No," Jack said, eyes flaring. "We stick together will get us killed." Ethan argued, urgency piercing through him like frozen dread. Sophia looked at both of them, fear and resolve battling in her gaze. "I can't let you do this. I need to know what is going on. Then we'll find a way to understand once we're safe." Ethan's voice cracked, the weight of his worry clawing at him. Jack clenched his jaw, wrestling against the decision swirling around them like the mist. "Fine," he snapped, his voice barely contained. "But we regroup at the old church by the river. Just keep moving." Without another word, they sprang in different directions, plunging deeper into the suffocating darkness. Ethan's heart hammered against his ribs, each thud reverberating through him, matching the beat of footsteps behind him. As he dashed into the underbrush, he felt the earth shift violently beneath him, the ground giving way. He stumbled, arms flailing, and hit a damp patch, covering his weight in mud. He rolled to the side and pressed himself against the earth, breath hitching. Silence. The world hung suspended around him as he strained to listen, the rush of panic drowning out everything else. He could hear them, the distant voices, then the crackling of branches, a hunt, and he was the prey. Suddenly, his breath hitched. A new sound. It twisted into the night air like a siren, a cell phone buzzing in the distance. It cut through the tension, making him freeze, a chill crawling up his spine. Flashing his eyes to the source of the sound, he saw the flicker of light. Someone had a phone. Bars of bluish light bobbed through the darkness like fireflies. Were Jack and Sophia close enough to see it? Then, voices grew louder, closer, and Ethan's blood ran icy. "They're here," a man said, the menace clear in his tone. Ethan's heart was racing to break free as he lay frozen. Who would answer that phone? And more chillingly, what would happen if he didn't? In the depths of the woods, surrounded by enemies, betrayal mingled with shadows. The crunch of leaves, the rustle of missteps, every sound felt amplified. Was there even a way out anymore? As panic tightened its grip, Ethan's instincts screamed for survival. Just then, a voice cut through the chaos, sharp and clear, shattering the stillness. "Jack, your father. He has been lying to you all along." Ethan's breath caught in his throat, uncertainty pouring in like a chilling tide. The truth, whatever it was, hung palpably in the air. Would it illuminate their path, or plunge them further into darkness? He clamped down on the mounting dread. The hunt was relentless, but the answers buried in their pasts loomed heavier still. What awaited them when the truth finally clawed its way to light? Would it lead to freedom or deeper tragedy? The cold wind whipped through the trees as Ethan crouched, heart hammering in his chest. The shadows danced around him. The hunt was on. He was terrified, but he knew he had to stay hidden. They were close now, their voices like vultures circling, hungry for any errant move he could make. "Jack!" One voice called, cutting through the night. Ethan clenched his jaw. He wanted to scream for his friend. He wanted to run, to find him. But instincts told him to wait, to lay low. If he moved now, he could doom them both. "Your father, he has been lying to you all along." The voice echoed again, more urgent this time. The words thrown into the void hung in the air with weight. Ethan's mind raced what truths were waiting to be uncovered from Jack's past, and how were they tangled in the web of danger surrounding them. Suddenly, an adrenaline surge coursed through his veins. He couldn't think about betrayal when survival demanded action. He peeled himself off the ground, heart racing as he darted towards the sound of the voice. Every rustle made him flinch. Every snapped twig felt like an accusation. But there was no turning back now. The urgency to connect with Jack overpowered any lingering fear of pain or betrayal. "Jack!" Ethan whispered, desperate. He didn't care about the potential confrontation. He just needed to find him. A sudden shout pierced the darkness. "This way!" He went this way. Panic sliced through him. He knew they were closing in. He sprinted through the underbrush, branches slapping against his face, the cold air stinging his lungs. He was fueled by determination, pushing through the exhaustion that threatened to overwhelm him. Finally, he burst into a small clearing, and there, beside a massive tree, he saw Jack, crouched, low trembling hands gripping a bloodstained shirt. Confusion swept over him when he noticed the newcomer, a figure that looked both familiar and threatening. Sophia stood beside Jack, her face pale and drawn, holding her phone like a lifeline. "Ethan." Jack's voice was strained, eyes wide as he shot a warning glance. "They're coming. We have to move now. This is all a trap, Ethan," Sophia cried, urgency underscoring her every word. "The men in the SUV, they're with Jack's father. If they catch us, it's all over." Ethan's heart sank. But why? The questioning etched in his brow was raw. His world turned upside down again with every new layer of deceit. Jack's father had crafted deals spanning the depths of darkness, but there was more to uncover beneath that facade. Jack shook his head, frustration boiling over. "I thought I could trust him, that I was safe." Anguish twisted his features. Every ounce of betray wrecked his resolve. "But he has been playing us against each other." A loud rustling sent dread crashing over Ethan, and they all froze. "We need to decide what to do now." He knew they didn't have much time. The frantic heartbeat of danger pulsed around them, the shadows creeping closer. They needed a plan. But what could they do? "We can't fight them," Jack said, fear etching deeper into his voice. "They're too strong, too connected. We have to get out, regroup. Find a way to piece this together." "Regroup where?" Ethan pressed, breathless from the chaos. "We can't keep running. Back to the old church." Jack's voice was a whisper. "We can build a strategy there, where they can't find us so easily." A collective murmur of agreement surged through them, and just as they were ready to take off, a dark form broke into view, heavy footsteps crunching through the underbrush. They were hunting for blood. "Hide!" The three shouted in unison, scrambling behind the trunk of the tree. Heart pounding, Ethan could barely contain his breath, fear wrapping around him like a vice, squeezing tighter with each approaching step. "Here, I saw their tracks," a gruff voice called, sending chills up Ethan's spine. Every muscle in his body tensed, vibrating with desperation to escape, but he knew he couldn't give in to panic. As figures loomed closer, Jack turned to Ethan and Sophia, urgency in his eyes. "When I say go, we bolt for the church. No looking back." Ethan nodded. They were risking it all, but there was no other choice. They had to step into the light of truth. "Now!" Jack suddenly shouted, and they dashed from their hiding place, sprinting through the woods at full speed. The adrenaline surged as they fled, hearts racing with the primal instinct to survive. Each hurried step felt like liberation and danger interwoven. "We can't stop," Jack urged, glancing back at the shadows closing in around them. The old church loomed ahead, a relic stronghold, cloaked in the dark, yet burned into their memories. Would it be sanctuary, or was it simply another trap? The echoes of their past resonated in the air, and as hope flickered in their hearts like a fragile candle, Ethan knew that whatever lay behind those doors could either illuminate or darken their fates. But there was no turning back now. The shadows behind them were relentless, And the truth, no matter how deep it ran, was finally within reach. As they burst into the clearing, breathless and wild-eyed with fear, Ethan felt it. The thin veil of darkness drawn back, revealing the first thread of light. This was their moment, and one thing was certain: only through facing the truth could they hope for freedom. Together, with hearts beating as one, they took a step into the depths of the old church, ready to confront whatever storm awaited them inside. Whatever the cost, they were prepared to fight for their lives, their future, and the truth that would set them free. This was it. Everything was hanging in the balance. What awaited them in that crumbling sanctuary? Ethan had no idea, but he refused to let fear dictate their path. Together, they would uncover the chaos of their past as they forged their way toward hope. As Ethan took the last few steps through the old wooden doors, he couldn't shake the growing sense that their fight was far from over. Still, with allies at his side, he knew they would face it head-on. Trust, determination, and vengeance propelling them toward a future that was yet to be written. Will you join them on this journey? Your support means everything. So, you need to subscribe now to catch the next thrilling chapter, where every twist and turn brings shocking revelations. Smash that like button. Now we're counting on you to feed the algorithm and let others in on this wild ride. Don't wait even one more second to share this story with at least 5 friends who need to be part of this adventure. And please, flood the comments section. I want to hear your reactions and theories. What will happen next in this tangled web?